So as a kid, I remember going to my grandpa and my grandma's house, and we were probably maybe 10 and 8, my brother and I. And my uncle, who was a few years older than me, um, wanted to show us the trains that my grandfather had down in his basement. So, and to this day, I mean, I'm 68 years old now, or almost 68, that I remember him specifically trying to spell the word trains backwards, thinking that we would know what he was doing. So as soon as we heard, that, so we had it down there. Always tried to put the trains underneath the tree. Bought my first set when I was a teenager, maybe 14, at a yard sale. I had a little brother, when I was in high school. So setting it up for him and my sister, James and Megan, was always fun until, of course, we got married and had kids of our own. I guess it started in earnest probably in the mid-90s. I probably have it written on some graph paper somewhere. I, came down with the flu that Christmas, barely felt like putting the trains under the table, under the tree, I would say, at Christmas. And come to find out, I had more track and trains. So I said to Paul, I says, hey, why don't we put a 4x8 sheet of plywood up in the living room? And we can put the trains on the table there, and you're already starting to collect these houses from like Joann Fabrics and, Michaels and such. And the problem was, of course, one 4x8 sheet of plywood, more trains meant less room for houses. So there was a second 4x8 sheet of plywood. Then it was another level. So to this day, it's grown to 3.5 4x8 sheets on one level, and probably a sheet and a half on the second level of trains running. So that's how I started, back in the 90s. To, wasn't feeling well. I got to have a better plan for next year, and we did it. And we've been doing this again for that long, opening our house to family and friends to share. Everything that we put out here is got probably some significance. If you look at some of the figures in some of the villages, bring back memories of like the Salvation Army, or the Toys for Tots program. The one tree in the corner here is filled with ornaments that reflect kids' toys that we played with as our kids when they were little. And of course, as we, even myself with all the Hot Wheel ornaments, being, having mine still from the late 60s when I was a kid. In fact, I still remember going across the street to the toy shop in Silver Spring and buying my first Hot Wheel set with my mom. So a lot of memories there. A lot of events that we did. There was a place we went to in Canada on one of our camping trips. It was called Betty's Diner. So we got, a miniature house at Betty's Diner. Some of the houses have Becca's name on it. Now, they didn't come that way from the factory, but I would, spend time trying to replicate that sign because Becca makes great grilled cheese sandwiches, or, I forget some of the other things that she has out here with her name on it. And, having shopping district, like, we spend our money at Lowe's, that's where my money goes, and Walmart and Aldi's and Cracker Barrel and the movie theater. I even have some of our favorite fast food places advertised in billboards, Brewster's, Cane's, Chick-fil-A. We were real pleased when Cane's came up in the area because we didn't know about them until we were like in Mississippi again on another camping trip. So everything on the train table probably has some memory attached to it. This year, in 2023, I'm running a lot of trains that were given to me by a neighbor across the street. It was his childhood set that he had, and they were downsizing to an apartment and knew that I'd take care of it. I also have on the train table part of a collection that Paula's friend at work, she and her husband would go to train shows and buy post-war Lionel. He was an avid collector, didn't have any kids, and when he passed away, she sold most of, in fact, she thought she sold everything he had, tens of thousands of dollars probably. Eventually she moved out of the house and found this cabinet and opened up the cabinet, and there were all these trains that she had no idea they were there, didn't know why they were there. I asked if I'd wanted them, and I said certainly. So I feel kind of like a museum curator in that I have Rex's collection, and I've been able to research a lot of the Lionel history. So I think what he was doing was buying sets that he would have bought, or had given to him when he was a kid, because he was a little older than I was. So that's kind of cool. But I've tried to make it personal, like the movie theater has our favorite, movies, posters on it that I, digitized and put on labels, like Polar Express, Elf, the Santa Claus, and things like that. So there's things like my grandfather flew a Bonanza, so there's a Bonanza split tail on there. and I've gotten new stuff. You know, one of the cars that mean a lot to me when Margaret, we first heard about Margaret coming along the way. I bought a train car that I could put her picture on. So every year when the train table is out, we make sure that there's her current picture. So we've got pictures going back, you know, of little half-inch by half-inch pictures of her on the train car. So, boy. You know, I love it all. I think I got into this big time when the train companies start bringing out digitized sound and smoke and sync chuffing. You know, I remember going to a train show there in Montgomery County, at the not Montgomery County, Upper Marlboro, and I bought my first MTH, Mike's Train House trains that were computer controlled. Digitized sound. You could hear the chatter of the engineer talking to the tower and such. And I remember I bought it at the show, didn't know what I was doing, hadn't even run it, but I did go to one of the vendors there who had a big layout, and I said, "Could you please put this on your track? I'd love to see this." And Paula says the look on my face was like any other 8-year-old boy on Christmas morning, just to see that train come to life, the sound, the smoke. So that's probably why I cherish this part, because it really then kicked it up another level for us. It made it more interesting for us to be able to, invite people into the house and show them, what this stuff can do. So we only set it up for Christmas, so it's a big deal. We build it over the furniture that's sitting here in the media room now. When we first started, it was, in the living room, and then it moved to a dining room, and we moved to this house. We remodeled the media room, but we knew where we were going to place the big screen TV. It had to be enough room underneath it to put the train table on a train, so it wouldn't be running into it, because I was going to take that off the wall. So we set it up, late fall. Hopefully, it's pretty much done by November. This, now that we go to Florida sometimes in November, we get a late start on it, but we try to get it all set up at least a week or so before Christmas, because we open up our doors after Christmas for everybody to come see, neighborhood, church, friends, family, etc., etc. Challenges, it's a lot of work. Everything you're seeing here gets packed away, stored away, conditioned airspace. You don't want to just put your trains out in the garage where they're going to get beat up with humidity. All the framework. And I didn't let Jerome take any pictures of that, but these are all 2x3 framed out with 2x3 legs, and all of it put together with big C-clamps. So storing it all in the garage, putting it out in the shed, and it'll take a while to put it away, but it's okay. It's a labor of love. Like I tell everyone, I do it for the kids. Wink, wink. So Becca and her now fiance will be wed in May of 2024. Did a lot of the heavy work. I mean, we're getting older, not as flexible as you used to be, but we've done this long enough that we've got a pretty good set of instructions. We don't have to learn as we go. So they helped a lot with bringing the stuff down from upstairs, stuff from out in the shed and stuff, like the wood pieces, the framework and stuff. And then, of course, just having the labor to help put the table down and put the tablecloths over the wood and things like that. Paula takes care of the villages. That's her thing. She puts them in place. We make sure that they get all wired with lights and stuff, and then all the people. She likes little stories behind them. Our favorite family story, and I don't think she'll mind me sharing, was my grandmother, who did, and I guess maybe didn't even think about that, where we picked up a lot of this doing the villages stuff. She used to do Department 56 stuff, and she had a big Christmas display every year. And she'd come down when she could, before she got into the nursing home and stuff, and help set up. So that was a cool memory, where the two of them would work it together and setting it up. When my grandmother couldn't, we would take video and take it up there and visit with her and share it. And so we'd run video, and Paula would talk about the village. And the funny family story is she would look at the Salvation Army people and the trumpet guy playing, and she says, "Can you hear it?" "I certainly can." And anyway, so that was kind of fun stuff. But yeah, that's a good memory to have, that my grandmother was a big part of this, because my grandfather's train in the basement was like the Lionel houses, and it really wasn't a Christmas display. But my grandmother was big into setting up a display at her house, even in her later years. They can't get over it that it's put away. We set up a little contest every year. One year it was count all the trains. Well, there's not just trains on the table, but there's trains inside the buildings. There was trains on the Monopoly car, on the Monopoly money. And we do, when we open up the house, when we do this, we open up the house, and the kids come in, and we've got like find, the rubber ducks, or find the miniature cows, or the frogs, or whatever. So that gets the kids and their parents, and that brings me a lot of joy to see them looking at it with them, because there's a lot of detail. The train's going around, that's cool, and most guys are like, more trains, more power. But the Villages really brings it to life, because you just see all the things that are going on. Kind of reactions I get, people have been doing it every year. They tell their friends. They bring friends, which we have no problem with whatsoever. And knowing that they enjoy it makes it worthwhile for us, right? Like I said, I do it for the kids, wink, wink. Well, I thank you all for coming over and doing this. This is pretty cool. I look forward to next year. In fact, I already plan, right? Once I'm done this set, I go, what am I going to do different next year? And the track has stayed pretty much the same. I use software that helps lay out the track, so I at least have a plan before I start, putting it down on the table. So planning for next year, or if we do it every other year, whatever, that's fun, right? So I've already got plans to what I want to improve, what we want to do, and it changes. Some years we'll have more cars, like Hot Wheel cars, models that I've built as a kid, things like that on the train table. This year it's just really all of Paula's figurines and stuff. So we try to buy her new stuff. She keeps saying I don't want any more. We did buy some. We got to watch the scale. Like some of the doors are real small, some are real big. So we're trying to make it look normal, for lack of a better term. Her big thing this year was she wanted to set up a campground. So she's got like 5 campers sitting in this one area in one section of the table with a fireplace, and I think there's a hot tub up there. But to send the kids through the table with their parents, like find the deer hunter that fell asleep, or the deer eating the nose off of the snowman. That's the fun stuff that we like to see. So thank you all very much for doing this. I didn't expect this level. I'm tickled pink. Can't wait to see what you all do with it. The director's cut as well. That would be fine. So anyway. Yeah, I'd like to know that this would continue. My kids, Becca, Andy, because I know it brought a lot of joy to other people, and bringing that joy to people would make it worthwhile to me. So to my prodigy, to my legacy, there we go, that's probably a better word, to my legacy, keep it up, because it's going to make people happy. Nothing wrong with that.